I'm Salita with Executive Unlimited, and I'm here with Mr. Robert Washington Sr., and we're covering a story about his land, his heritage that has been literally stolen from him. And Mr. Washington, I want you to kind of tell us what's going on with your land.
Okay, the land we've been locked off our property since May 1st, 2013 by a judgment given out by Judge Rando. The judgment was unfair and it was against all Louisiana laws. In Article 742 of Louisiana, it states clearly that if you had a right-of-way over 30 years, it becomes yours by hook or crook. And then the next thing about it, we were in a situation where the guy wanted to buy the property, but we refused to sell the property to him, so this came about. And he sent us a letter on somewhere around April the 15th, saying that we had so rudely revoked his offer of $90,000 to buy the property from us. Okay, the rudeness was like this. My family wrote him back a letter saying, thank you for being interested in the property, but we do not want to sell, and please do not contact us anymore. If that's rude, I don't know what to say. But the next thing, right this point here is like 5 miles from where the property is. There's 2 lock gates in between here. On May the 1st, he said that our keys would no longer fit these gates. He controls this gate by the landowner that has this property here. Okay. And the keys, and it says, do not duplicate. Okay. You can't get, he only ever gave the family, I think, 4 to 5 sets of keys. And I had a problem with him there because I felt my family should have a limited amount of keys like we always had, because we have a large family and that's our civil rights to let anybody go on our property that wants to. Well, to show that he wanted to actually take the property, matter of fact, when he bought the property from Omega's Heirs Plantation, Mike Waldo, he said that there was rumors going around saying he bought that property, but he would take the Harris property. We paid no attention to that. But then in 1999, he came out and sued us in court. He first took it to the Ninth Judicial Court, but he found out that by random choice, he got Donald Johnson. So he immediately had it dismissed without prejudice and took it to Philip Terrell's court in Pineville. Okay, they're saying now that I'm the one being racist and everything, but when you look at it, if you take it out of a black judge court to a white judge court, he made it racial. Yes. I didn't. Yes. And the thing about it, Mr. Terrell charged us over $17,000 for cost of court and what we had to pay him. What he did, he couldn't sue no more than $15,000. But on top of that, he said it will be accruing interest from the day he filed the lawsuit. Now, how do you give a person money and they hadn't even won the case yet? That's what I don't understand. And then the next thing, the maximum cost for dumping garbage is $500 for misdemeanor costs. But we paid lots more than that. And then there's rumors about they have witness and stuff like this. Now, take for instance, every one of these gates have keys. So, and it says do not duplicate. In order for those people that testified for him to be on that property, they had to be guests or friends of his. And you know, it was like me, my uncle, 2 uncles that went to court, because we thought, you know, the truth would prevail. We didn't think we need to parade a whole line of witnesses through there. You know, some of the witnesses just blatantly lied because of the fact one guy got up and said, well, if it rained like it rained today, the whole area would flood. Well, I came down and immediately took pictures that afternoon. Next day in court, he said, oh no, he made a mistake. But Terrell didn't pay no attention to that. And then when he first sent us a letter about the trash, I wrote him a letter saying, I didn't think our family was responsible for this, that it had floods earlier before he got the property and brought that stuff in there because we had like baby diapers, Pampers, whiskey bottles that we don't drink. They had bleach stuff like that. We don't have water. We don't have electricity down there, so we don't do washing. Mike Walter had several families that stayed on his property that had kids that was overseers of the property. They washed his property for him. He had many parties. Now, what happened to their trash? They don't have garbage pickup down here. Okay, and then Mr. Terrell said that Jumbo Downs, James Downs, Sister District Attorney, witnessed us dumping trash onto associated property. But Mr. Downs didn't even come to court, number one. Okay, the next thing was, if he did a testimony, you know, he could have did it offline, but he didn't come to court. They could have took his testimony, but but when he said he witnessed us dumping, he didn't witness dumping anything. What they said, they witnessed trash that had washed from our property onto Omega Zoeris plantation, which could have come from anywhere. They cleaned up their property and had the big stack, but they took pictures of that, and that's what we supposed to have been done. And then Mr. Terrell said, well, he said he had trash on his property. I didn't say that. Garbage, he said. I didn't say what he said. He bounced around the situation. I said that we had a few mayonnaise bottles and stuff like that that we could not burn. Everything that was trash that we could burn, we burned it. And our attorney, Greg Gravel, asked in court, why did he take it out of Judge Johnson court and bring it to Pineville court? They immediately, Philip Terrell called him to the back of his chambers. They came out. He had a smile on his face, said, I'm gonna be fair and honest about this situation. Okay. He said, I'm gonna go look at the property and everything. I took him to look at the property. We didn't have that kind of trash on our property, and I showed him how the buy run and which way the water exits our property. And it was totally, it had to wash upstream to wash on his property in the first place. Okay, the next thing was, he charged us for porching on Mr. Soche property when there was no witness. We never was charged with it in court or anything like that. We never was arrested for it. But he said we were doing it. But I have pictures of their stands identically the way we had ours, because that's the only way we could put them to hunt off the fence rows. And I felt like, hey, you can't tell me where to put my stands on my property. This is my property. I've been hunting there since I was 5 years old. But this is what he did. And then once he made his ruling, and Philip, another thing I heard him on in his little interview, he said, I went and looked over the case, and but it hadn't been transcribed yet. 14 years and it hadn't been transcribed? That sounds illegal to me.
Yes.
Definitely. And that's to me, that's to hide something. Okay. What they did, after he ruled, he figured that we weren't going to be able to pay the money. So that accruing interest daily would have mounted up if we didn't pay it. So we immediately paid it. The reason we paid it was because Gravel told us, said, going to the appeals court is kind of hard, and you can't really introduce any new information. And I still wanted to go, but my family said, because he said, what you're going to have to do is pay more money out if you lose. And my family said, well, we just tired, we're just going to pay it. I wasn't willing to do that, but we did it anyway. Okay, once we paid that money, Mr. Soche refused to take it. He wanted a lien on the property. So Gravel had to get Scott Blaine, a real estate lawyer, to go to the 9th Judicial Court under Judge Donald Johnson. And it's like, I can see him today like it was just yesterday. He looked at him, he told Mr. Soche, he said, I don't know what they do in Pineville Code, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. The Harrods have met their responsibilities. They've paid you that money. And the case looks suspicious, but I have no jurisdiction over Pineville Court. And that was it. And Mr. Soche literally turned red during this period of time. But that didn't top the case. He waited a little while. In 2004, he put a fence around us because we were deer hunting, and he thinks every deer in the area belongs to him in that area. He put a 10-foot fence with a 10-foot gate. Okay, after he put the fence, I killed a buck that was 172 class. So he come back and put more fence in. What he did, he put dogs at the end of the fence to keep the deers from coming past the dogs and stuff and getting on our property. Okay. And he put his fence on part of our property, on one end of our property. And I told him, and I called this lawyer and told him about it. They didn't do anything about it. So then we took him to court. Okay, they took advantage of this. I don't know how they got to Judge Rando, but they got Judge Rando as the judge, and that's when he made the ruling in 2009 that, because our lawyer said, when they had one of their little meetings, that I would talk to the Harrells whether they want to buy right away from you or not. But he can't make our no deal for us. We have to agree on this. So we said no. So then he ruled in associate favors, banning us, at that time, banning us from coming on the levee and going to our property. But we took it to the 3rd Judicial Court in Lake Charles. They annulled that, saying that he was wrong in his judgment. Okay, meanwhile, they say, you need to go back to the lower courts. Y'all need to work this out. We send Mr. Associate and them a list and say, well, look, we just do it this way. Just give us the right of way like we had it at first. Keep your doggone fence up. We're not going to worry about it. I said, and those locks, I got pictures where they were encased in, well, they don't have it here, encased in a round thing where you had to almost lay on your back to get to unlock them. Raise the lock up because most of our family is elderly. And when, you know, when it's raining and stuff, it's hard to get into the property. Okay, he never returned, never did anything. Next thing we know, they had Jerry, they set a trial date, and Jerry, our lawyer, Gerard Torrey, asked for a continuance because he had a felony case. Judge Randolph, he said he couldn't have one. Okay, now if a judge gonna be fair to me in the first place, he's supposed to be a mediator.
Exactly.
And how important this case was, he would say, well, you know, that's a felony case, it trumps a civil case, so I'm gonna give him his continuance. But no, he didn't. And then from what it looked like, because I looked at all the dates and stuff, somebody might have sending it back to Gerard Torrey. When he got it back, because he don't have a secretary, he's out all the time representing people, he got it back, the court date had passed before he even noticed, and we were not notified of a court date by mail or nothing else. Nobody in my family. Okay, we got that ruling, and then when he went back to the Court of Appeals again about the continuance, not the land now, the continuance, they ruled that he was right in not doing the continuance. Okay, you got to realize, Louisiana changed their judges on that Supreme Court on a regular basis. I don't know who and who's friends of who, but I feel like they were wrong in their action, and what's going to end up, we have to take it to the federal court. Because, you know, my grandfather bought this property in 1929, reared his kids on this property, and survived on this property, and asked us to keep this property in the family because he never knew when somebody would have to come back and live off this property. And we did that to the best of my knowledge. Matter of fact, I had just spent $10,000 cleaning up the property and stuff. In the latest position in trying to discredit what I say, they have enlisted Tony Brown and also Herbert Dixon, our state representative. Okay, I went to, first of all, let's talk about Herbert. I went to Herbert and asked him, I said, look, I said, man, I said, I don't think you should be campaigning for Mr. Terrell, and from what he did and the way he acted. with my family. Oh, and he just told me, no matter what I say, I could not change his mind. And everybody has skeletons in their closets. And but everybody may have skeletons, but everybody's not running for DA. And the next thing is, how would you like your kid or any of your family members to go in front of someone that's gonna smile in your face and stab you in the back? That ain't gonna work. But then they try to cover it up with the Tony Brown show. Tony wanna say everything I said wasn't true. And the first biggest mistake I ever heard him say it was, Mr. Terrell, they don't handle land in Pineville City Court. If he go back and look at the records, he'll see where Pineville City Court was where they put the lien on the property. In order for us to get the lien off, we had to take it back to the Ninth Judicial Court, which Don Johnson was the judge. Okay, and then all this hoorah, I've been trying to get the records from over in Pineville on the whole thing. Ain't managed to get them yet. They tell me they only got parts of them, but I don't understand how. And then my cousin, I sent her one time, they told her, if we would have paid our judgment, we wouldn't been in this problem. We've been paid that, And matter of fact, I think some of the money we paid, he built a fence with it, and off fences of our own land. The worst thing about it, but they, I've had to tolerate them sending game wardens on me. I've been threatened by putting me in jail because I removed dogs off my property that weren't supposed to be on there, no name tags or nothing like that. And they act like they don't even know Louisiana law about dogs. If any time a dog come on your property, the landowner has the right to remove it. And and Mr. Glass called me, and that's the one that had sent me the threatening letter. And I finally got a hold of Mr. Glass. I told him, I said, Mr. Glass, I said, you say I need a lawyer. I think you need a lawyer, or you need to look up Louisiana laws. I was trying to stop bloodshed between you and Mr. Soche because y'all know y'all have bad blood for each other. I said, wait a minute. You tell me by trying to get me arrested and threaten me, that's trying to stop something? It seems to me like that's trying to start something. They really try to provoke me into doing things and saying things, because I know for a fact one of the guys, it's in the court record, was Adrian Nichols. He was a farmer up here. Him and Soche got into it, and I don't know, I think he's dead now, but he wasn't allowed to even come down this levee anymore. And if you threaten somebody or do something like body harm like that, they can enforce that. But I've always had better sense than to do that. I can look at him and think what I want to think and smile and go on about my business. I've even had some of my nephews been called niggers on this levee. And see, the worst thing about it, this used to be the River Road. They had a church down here. I have 2 uncles buried in the graveyard down here. We can't even get to that at all, And it's a thing of where the man with the most money and the most power gets what they want.
Exactly.
And I don't know, it just, to me, it tears me up because it looked like a bad circle. Just put it this way. Philip Terrell retires from his job as judge. Okay, Soche daughter wants to get in as judge. Philip want to run for the DA of Rapides Parish. Randolph running back for judge. Well, to me, that looked like their whole little clique in office can do what they want to do. Exactly. And this is time for this to come to an end. This is not 1865. This is year 2014. And we don't have to put up with it, And most people actually, like I told them, a lot of people say, well, they white. No, they ain't got nothing to do with white. They got good white people and bad white people. They got good black people and bad black people. It all depends on what line they want to cross. And the thing about it, we wouldn't be where we're at today if we didn't have some good white people on our side, if you think about it. And so I'm not saying I'm racial on that. The thing I'm saying, I'm racial on somebody with money forcing me off my property. Exactly. And I'm not going to let them force me off my property after I fight this till the day I die and encourage my kids and my families to do this. I will do this. And that's, and Tony, I don't know what his problem is with me. He don't know me from nothing, you know, and he never called me for an interview. I gave him my phone number. I gave him my address. If he want to talk to me, call me. I'm there. I don't mind talking to him. He want to get the facts straight. Let's walk through the Rapides Parish Court in Pineville Court and read if he's lucky enough to get all the information from Pineville Court. We'll do that, you know, and things, you know. People.
So how long? Excuse me, I hate to interrupt.
Okay.
You. How long have you been fighting to get to your?
We started this in 2004.
Okay.
And on the land situation, on the right-of-way and stuff, and it's still going on right now. What happened? He wrote me a letter. He wrote the family a letter, said it's finally over. And if you read the letter, it's almost like, you know how they say you got some winners that are bad winners? It sounds like he's a very bad winner in that case, but if he really don't know, he ain't won.
Exactly.
He think he had won, but you know, he expect us just to roll over and take it.
Exactly.
And that ain't happening.
That's the mentality.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the
you
mentality.
Know, you do what Mr. Soche want, or you get the hell out of there.
Exactly.
You know, he gonna tell me one time, well, not him, one of his cronies, Mr. Soche will give you doe tags if you don't kill any of the bucks. You can't tell me what to kill on my property. And number one, it's illegal to pass a doe tag from another person that comes from the state of Louisiana to another person, because that ain't the way it's supposed to be done.
Exactly.
And he could accuse me of actually stealing the doe tags.
Exactly.
I wasn't gonna do that. You know, I'm not stupid by far.
So do you feel like Louisiana judicial system has its privileged that can get away with a lot of stuff?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And the thing about it, it's all has to do with who's in the clique.
Exactly.
You know, you go back to another fact. I think Don Johnson is fair, but in the case where we went to the appeals court, they hired Don Johnson's son, Miles Johnson. And what that meant, if anything ever come in front of Don Johnson, he could not handle it because it was conflict of interest.
Exactly.
And you know, that was a hell of a chess move.
Yeah.
But you know, that's another way of shopping for a judge.
Exactly.
You know, they do it, you know, just like when he took it to Pineville Court, what you call that?
That's shopping for judges.
Shopping for a judge, you know. He didn't want it in that court. And then you say, well, I'm not racist. Well, look, let me tell you something. Just because a person that's a lawyer, goes and sues somebody and gets you a settlement, don't mean he's your friend or he's your buddy. He ain't suing for you, he's suing to make money for himself. You know, I seen where the same time he was kicking us off our property, his daughter Lauren did a little statement in the paper about how her daddy helped her and he was a good man and all that stuff. This was control damage, you know, damage control. But he ain't what they pretend him to be, you know. This man can look you in the face and don't even speak to you. In fact, they came on my property to get dogs that I called about and didn't even open their mouth to me. You know, like I told one of the guys come on the property, he was a black guy, he was one of their little rangers. And I told him, I said, look, they thought I had, from what the ranger told me, thought I had shot the dog or killed the dog. I said, let me tell you something, I don't take out on a poor dumb animal what their masters do, because they can't read and they're not responsible for his actions. And I, you know, I'm crazy about it, but I don't do that, you know. I will call the sheriff department. Matter of fact, I took the laws to Tioga substation, left them with them, and told them every time I found a dog, I was gonna call them. I did call them numerous of times, and they called associate them to have them come get the dog. Okay. So that's who came and got them.
Okay. So this battle of getting to your land, it has really taken a toll on the family. Yes,
money-wise and actually health-wise on some. You know, it you know, they have lawyers in their firm. They don't have to pay for those. Then every time we went to court, if we lose or something, we have to pay costs of court. I just recently paid on that last issue, I paid $1,500 and something for that. And then I've been continuously, I don't know what's going on. I go to the court They tell me I didn't pay. The clerk of court say, well, you done paid everything. Then the next thing, you owe this, you owe that. So I've been paying, and finally, I got it paid, everything that's supposed to be paid, I guess. Hopefully don't nothing else come up. But there's one other thing that I need to say. I had a fella I really trusted in, hired him as a consultant because he was a church member of my daughter's. And he said that he was helping, could not be bought, and that his sister was sisters to the Louisiana District Attorney, Mr. Ronald Lewis. Come to find out, and I explained everything to him about Terrell. Come to find out that he was working for Terrell, campaign for him. And I called him and I told him, I said, this is not right. Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm really campaigning for Chris Roy. Come down to, I found out that he still was campaigning for him, so I fired him and asked for my money back. I didn't get all of it back. I got some back. But the paperwork, well, we was working on a situation trying to get the Black Farmers Association in. And he was supposed to be able to do some of the legal paperwork for me until I get them involved. And I told him, this is out of my mouth. I said, look, man, I said, these are lawyers. Whatever you do, make sure it's correct. Because at that time, I hadn't studied all the laws and didn't know how the farm supposed to went. Oh, Lord, it was ridiculous what he did. The farm was nowhere close to what it should have been in the first place. When I turned in the court, I ended up paying to get that dismissed, and I filed one on my own that I went up and looked up and did everything. Now, some of the things, I might have made a mistake on the articles and stuff, like 741 and 742, because the reason I did that, because I wanted to make sure something was filed before May 1st. And by him, he kept telling me, oh, I'm gonna get it done, I'm gonna get it done. I got it in the process, I got it in the process. I'm getting it done. And it came down to the last minute where I had to stay up 2 nights and days to do this, to file it. So I'm human, I'm gonna make mistakes. Matter of fact, if when it comes to that point, if they figure I'm not human, ask Judge Randolph if he gonna say, kick us off our property when the law strictly says Louisiana do not allow landlocking, and in the Article 742, that was our right-of-way by hook or crook. But he ruled that it wasn't. So he was human. So evidently he made a mistake, but they want to say, well, you don't know what he's talking about. But everything else is definitely the truth.
Exactly.
You just go to the courthouse. Like I said, I cannot forge records. Go to the courthouse, and if they want me to go to the courthouse, and I've done it before, get copies made, and they want to read, fine with me. But just don't call me a lie and don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
What
I've learned interviewing and working on doing some research on some of the cases here in Louisiana, what I've learned is Louisiana has a very bad habit of, with black folks, because I'm going to say it like it is, the way they go after us, they go in our pockets.
Yeah, in our pockets. Look, the worst thing, they go up in our pockets then because they figure we cannot last long that way.
Exactly.
The next thing they do, they take our own people and go at us with.
Yes.
That's the worst thing. Now let me tell you something. I tried not to throw those last 3 people under the bus. I've been holding back on them for the longest. If you notice, I've never said anything about them till Tony started his mess. And Herbert, he called me not more than a week ago. He wanted my address, he wanted my phone number, and he said, well, Mr. Terrell wants to speak with you, have a meeting. I said, it's fine. I'll say exactly what I've been saying all the time. I have no problem with that. If he want to meet, but instead of them meeting with me, what he did, next 2 days after that, he went on the radio with Tony Brown. And I feel it was impartial on Tony's side to not even get my side of the story.
Exactly. That wasn't good journalism.
And then when it really pissed me off when he went on there and said that Robert Washington character.
So he calls you a character.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not a human being, you're a character.
I'm a character, That's the bad part.
That's not journalism.
No. And that really upset me. I'm a taxpayer like everybody else. I'm a disabled vet. I said, look, you get the facts, and if I'm wrong, tell me. But don't have the facts and don't and tell me I'm wrong. And you know, like to me, like I told him, I'm not getting paid to politic for nobody. Nobody's paying me. I don't have to make deals or nothing like that. You know, nobody's stuffing my back pocket or paying for some kind of something for me to do or something like that. I'm fighting for my family and my property.
Exactly.
And I will continue that fight.
Mr. Washington, I want to say thank you very much for this time. I'm just like shocked and not really, I shouldn't be shocked because Louisiana is, woo! Louisiana got some skeletons.
Always been kind of crooked.
and there is a timeout for that now. It's a timeout, and what we're doing, Executive Unlimited, is to expose. That's our job, is to expose what is not fair through the judicial system or any system here in Louisiana.
Everybody should have the same equal rights.
Exactly.
Whether you got $1 or $2 million, it doesn't make any difference. You know, I feel like I have the right to own property just like he has the right to own property.
Exactly.
My auntie, it pissed her off so bad when he said he would find a piece of property for us. She said, he must don't realize we have sense enough to sell our property if we want to. We have sense enough to go find property if we want to buy it. We don't need him to do that for us.
Exactly.
You know, but he acted like we was a bunch of illiterate black people. You know.
And that's the mindset of a lot of them. You'd be surprised how many actually believe that we're not illiterate. I mean, that we don't have the know-how, the education, the intelligence, the wisdom to make sound decisions. But that goes back to that old slave mentality that has not left yet. So you guys, we're going to conclude with this interview with Mr. Robert Washington Sr. And I want to thank you for your service, my fellow veteran. And this has been Salita McCall with Executive Unlimited. And thank you.
Thank you.